Politics, business, leadership. There are so many different points of view these days about politics and different parties and different people in different parties with different views. When we keep in mind just how strongly politics matter in the sense of organization, then we first have to understand what politics are, what they are actually supposed to be about, and why they matter, and where it all goes and connects. So politics is more or less the dedication of uh, talking, exposing, being in a platform that revolves around the organization of world matters in places like government, but also not necessarily directly government, but associated with. And these days, we're seeing a lot of celebrities, business people, etc., stepping to the platform. Am I saying that if you're an artist or talented in anything else, or just famous on anything else, even if quote unquote you are talented or not, in those things, whether you're recognized as or not by some group because of whatever reasons or not, is it a right? Is there a not? Is there like a rule or something? Not, because the perspective of these spaces is not that it is for everyone and anyone, but at the same time that everyone and anyone might be able to partake in the space. So once you understand what politics are and these points, and then how the movement of parts of people uh, launching themselves, and then understanding the difference between everyone and anyone can, or anyone and everyone has an opportunity, and you understand the difference of how both might sound similar but they don't mean the same thing. So then it goes into government, because politics are about government and what is government and what has become government. So politics has become more of a platform to launch agendas of either individuals and or groups of people for mainly self-gain, while using the platform that is built to be as a overall neutral space where people are not supposed to be benefiting as individuals or favoritized as individuals, but it should be as a collective uniformity of society. And given geopolitical divisions of countries, etc., then by those standards. So understanding that about politics, what it has become, what it actually is meant to be, and where it links to back to government, then we can cover the government part. So government is actually meant to be about organization of a group, civilization, society. Like I mentioned, since we have divided geopolitically, now calling to nations, then obviously into those groups. Does that mean that one nation does not affect another or has not opinion of another? Does not. However, on the sense of the political aspect, it is, at least as it is, not necessarily that it is the best method of whatever it is. Few decide the faith of, and often, at least publicly, it is said that it is the group of people from said area of the world. In this case, insert whichever country and their own rules of how such things happen. But what is government? A government is not supposed to be some empowerment, dictatorship, ownership, mastership place. If it was such a thing, it will be a completely different scenario, and then you will have to look at other aspects of to see if fair or not. You can only own something that you've made. The fact that there is ownership being claimed about things that are simply for all living beings, that's just part of society, and I'm not going to go in that, but we understand how it isn't really okay, and how it is unfair. Beyond that, we understand the owning of people from people's wrong, whether it is practiced or not, and whether people want to accept the fact that it's wrong or not. So, in that perspective, it does not necessarily apply to someone having a chain or being forced to live in someone's house at the will of exactly what they say as per that individual. But when governments start to behave like their own people and run laws and so on, then you can start to understand it's not per se this invisible space we're calling government, but whoever is sitting in certain position at certain place at certain time making certain laws. That individual and those who support, endorse, empower, and move them in their actions and their agendas forward. And this is why the whole thing about political parties and so on, etc., is more of a blindfold than an actual reality. And then the acceptance of becomes obviously lots of people don't want to accept that they've been ignorant in their choices. And unfortunately, in the bigger ignorance, often people in their ego tend to quadruple on their bad choices. Does not mean that they're going to get out of that. And it can be easily reflected and observed in how society moves as a collective and how things, instead of getting better, seem to get worse. It can be seen on everything, especially on where it's supposed to be better or best, or where people who actually have the quality of leadership, see, development, tech advancement, science, politics, security, medicine, mental health, etc. What influences society. And yes, it's not to say that all the wrongs are to be blamed to the government. No, government, as I said, is very ephemeral. A word doesn't exist. You know, it's just a label. Who sits and what is what matters. And when you see business people, the same people who are causing certain patterns of harm because the priorities they have is to build money, and in their perspective of I am held as the genius, powerful, influential man of this or that or woman because I made this or that or made money like this and that. But the bigger aspect of what it actually contributes to society beyond a momentary such placebo effect of what success, benefit, and advancement are matter most. And the overall society shows that there has been no such thing. And anything and everything can be acclaiming to that often falls into the category of more bamboozled and elevated and enhanced than it actually is. Technological, social, economical, medical, etc. Even in the way we live our pleasures and so on. And the priorities are not being made on advancing things that matter, but again creating systems and people talking about like if we made these trillions, quadrillions, quintillions of dollars, we are succeeding. And if we create this thing or that, and again elevating, exaggerating, etc., it does not change the reality, it's worsening things. And then there's the cover-ups. So when you start to see all these things together, and then when you start to understand, hey, some people do genuinely actually believe that I'm ex rich, powerful magnate man, and I've made these many million billions dollars. Okay. I have a lot of people who tell me I'm a very smart man. I've been on this TV show, for example, for some who have, as the business magnate man that people come with their business ideas and ask for money and even advice. And because I've had the ability to make all this money, therefore I'm held as such thing, and then or because I've had this position of it, etc. But there's not the insight of what is that thing deeper in the actual contribution of advancement and so on. That seems to be very glossed over and passed on as pile of money moved here in this amount, therefore that is created, and it's not. When you understand what money is, when you understand what actual investment things are, and how things impact, and even when it's seemingly observant as this thing advances, how it actually is impacting and what other aspects are not being talked about, that's where it matters. And so often you hear, hey, a good businessman, it's a good leader in politics. And it couldn't be far more wrong. considering that often business is also managed and run and perceived in the wrong way too. Because business is supposed to be about developing and advancing as a whole civilization. That economic prosperity comes out of it is supposed to be a plus, not the actual pursuit. Whereas business has become the pursuit of pleasure and gain, regardless of. So when you understand that, and then you understand also politics are nothing supposed to be anything like business, but about the oversight, maintenance, and sustenance and development of such balance, then you understand just how far from all of these things humanity is. And when you see that the people are being held because they manage to somehow with something that obviously, while might superficially or partially seem like a good thing, this matter of the fact remains what is. And if you need to be running away from Earth to seek something else, that tells you enough about how the people who are telling you what you need and what is, their mindset and focus, along the people at the bottom hailing it a lot, are not necessarily focusing on the right thing. And the few who know in that and are seeking to move are often blocked because at the end of the day, power, fame, position, being glorified, being paid, being on TV, being talked about, it's what a lot of these people are about. And they understand that as long as they are seen as the only or as the, whether it is that they have something useful or not, or are originally the owners of said useful ideas or not, it's what matters to them. And whether, let's just say that they manage somehow to force the people who will benefit, which is already wrong, and that will ripple along wrongs into society if you want to talk into a more fairness of energy and a balance of the universe. When you do wrong, you ripple wrong, no matter what other things you think you are doing benefit. Let's say that, enslaving people like that by people like that, and they'll bring it to society because, hey, after all, they're already famous, they're already rich, and people like them. They don't want the other person who is, not famous, not rich, and reminds them of there is someone who did come from nothing and can do something. They prefer to keep the wrong because it makes them feel comfortable. And when you don't face all those aspects of subconscious and conscious and emotional and worldviews and personal views and even how you view others and what is and isn't and the acceptance of, you get what you get. And society is the reflection of that. So when it comes again back to business and that, it's not separate or detached of the emotional or any of that. And it is in a reflection of why these people favoritize and even go as far as send this message of what is and isn't. And you've had philosophies that come alive and make it big and become popular. And I've always talked about the fake until you make it because it's still, but kind of makes me think, how can such a saying become true once you observe it deeper? And when I first heard it, I didn't think much of it, but as I thought more about it, it's sort of made me think a lot into my own philosophy, just how such train of thought has impacted humanity so much and became such an emblem for people. And it is a reflection again of all those things. So business, for one, is very detached of politics. And politics and humanity and society and civilization and advancement and human rights and all those things, it's not like a business. Politics are no business. But second, even business has failed at what true business focus and success is by focusing on reward and no why people are rewarded or the reward, while ironically calling people lazy. You know, that's the thing. In the same consuming, destructive, harmful society, telling people that if they're not bleeding themselves into a job that gives them scraps to go live and pay for things that have been priced by those who own the companies where they work and make the profits and pay them scraps and treat them like crap and give them the most work for the least amount of reward and, and quality treatment also are reaping from the inflation and the increases of prices of living being, quality of living, etc. And even the same people are going to sit in the government places so they can further strip the basics of society. Since we're all born in a planet that comes with all the things there are. While, someone's car, someone's house, clothes are not growing on a tree, the land, the tree, the water, the earth, the mineral resources do not belong truly to anyone. And then when you see these people go sit in political positions to reap all that, then you understand the full circle, and then you should understand the harm. But you should also be wise, whether you're that businessman, the cock, white of that businessman, the servant. You know what I'm referencing. Rich people saying these things, and they're people who get paid or like the fame or aspire to be, I don't know, the best friend or the insert whatever job they're looking for or whatever benefit from that person serving them and pushing them in their absolute ignorance of what truly is advancement and how that reflects on them, not just personally but socially. Then you understand why society is not necessarily the way it should be, uh, why civilization is in decline, but also why these people pursue these positions of leadership and power, why war is war, and why it doesn't seem that anything seems to take it to any place where it matters. And so, if you want to complain about for those, and I'm going to talk about it because a lot of people who support people like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, for example, O'Leary in Canada, these group of people at the same time want to talk about COVID, etc., and deny the business model. Doug Ford, for example, in Ontario, premier, horrible premier, who has done a lot of harm where I live, etc. How much pocketing of money, and the same people who are in the business, etc., calling the police, the medical laws, etc. So when you see that and you just want to focus on this party or that party, but not the overall, and you keep electing and you keep ignoring, etc., and you keep supporting because this party or that or if your thing and that, and you harass the people who actually openly talked about it, left, right, up, down, here, across, etc., because it's not just liberal, conservative, American, North America, Canada, US, or overall in Western or other like countries or Anglo spoken countries. You can see the influence of people like Xi Jinping, because Xi Jinping is his own movement, separate even from CCP and what Chinese people are, for example. And why do I talk about this? Nobody wants to talk about it because they seem to be scared. Why? Chinese people are suffering, uh, people from other countries because of Chinese movements like those around Xi Jinping, uh, etc., with their extremism, with their I got emperor, supreme rulers of the world mind views. And then when you see people of businesses across the West shaking hands with that, and celebrities and endorsing and calling it this or that, masquerading as this or that, you have to think, my God, their own people are. There is the picture there of the sovereign sector that doesn't matter. The pretends enemies of here. When you see like, hey, Saudis, Muslim majority country, big far lovers of people like Elon Musk and Trump admin, the exact same Trump admin, Musk, Trump, and admin members, full on business, deep, not just the government parts, with private enterprises, sector, and family members in these places, both places pretending to be enemies of each other, playing, religious wars, race wars, political wars, gender wars, worldview wars, etc. You have to really think. And if you're not, and you're keeping your mindset, you cannot complain because you deserve what you get. And not constantly whining about something doesn't mean you've given up or you're accepting things. But once you have taken the proper stance publicly and openly, and you live by that badge, you don't need to be constantly speaking about it. You live by that. and your actions are a reflection of that. That people want to insert letter, number, symbolism, BS, and alternative meanings, that's their ignorance. For those who want to follow them, that's their own ignorance. So if you really want to know why the world's the way it is, look no further than your own choices. If you want to see where you can make an impact to make the world a better place, not no further than your own choices. And if you already are doing that, and truthfully, then you have nothing to go harass other people, harm other people. You speak and leave that message. And pretending with other people, stealing from other people, all that reflects. So it's not just what you surfacely are or politically are, etc. All these things I've been talking about the last few days all come together to that and give you the manifestation of your emotional self, regardless of what perspective you send the world out there. Because as you can see, there are people who have it everything materially, social applause speaking, and yet they go and cause harm, take from others, and even at that, they're still miserable, they through nine, because even when they have managed to hurt others, take from others, sit on top of it, are seen as things they're not even, but the whole picture of success, they still freaking miserable in ways you cannot even fathom. And I'm speaking from a person who suffers from the abuse of people who sit in such places, and I've shared my story. So that alone is a reflection of, and you've seen what these people have and how they are and what they do. That is a reflection of what their version of success is. So while people might not like me because I'm not rich and famous in the ways these people are, I'm not those things because I chose to do better with my knowledge and be a better person, not because I cannot. I can be worse and I can be better, all in one in that sense of how they are better than me, quote unquote, for those who like to subjugate me, for those who like to deny me my justice because of those things, etc. The matter of that, the fact remains that even these people who have been placed forcefully in front of me, taking my things, have ironically been placed at the center of the world in the last 4 years. And in the last 4 years, the world couldn't have gone more crappier than it has, and it's headed. So all of that and everything I said. So business not only has their own focus, but business and politics are not the same thing. And politics are not where they're supposed to. And labels are labels. But what matters is actual advancement, emotional, mental, physical, social, etc. And the two places remain separate and are meant to be separate because one is supposed to look for the well being of all, and one is supposed to focus on the advancement of the things that make for the well-being of all. That the benefit of cash comes with certain things is supposed to be a plus, a reward for the greatness of the good. That faking such things has happened and is happening. You can see it on all these quote unquote technological advancements, even the whole green movement, which is disgusting. Because I mean, if all these technologies developing for energy where they're claiming to be, it will be a no-brainer to be invested, and we wouldn't be dealing with the things there. But also, we'll not be doing the same things or worse than what already is there. Because while you cannot say anything about the past, and the collective's past choices. You can say that the present and your choices and your awareness and your recognition and your focuses. So we cannot say anything about the choices of fossil fuels, for example, in the past. But we can say what we claim it's example better than present and future. And if you don't want to listen and give recognition to the people who know, because you rather for the few who see their greedy and power, because that's what matters to you, again, you don't get to complain. And this is one example. And going and blowing things off because you're not even thinking, hey, how did you get to that place to blow that things off? And where are you going? Oh yeah, that's right. You got there in a car that used those things. okay, or in a bus, and you're about to affect a society that lives on those things, food access, etc. So obviously it's not well thought out. That's why when I see all these people blow this business, bomb this shit up, etc., for the good of humanity, no. These people seemingly almost seem like part of the whole thing of keeping the whole circle of self-destruction. Oh, look, that's all they want, destroy our society. Obviously they have nothing else good to say. Nothing else of this topic matters because they went with the flag of environmental issues, even though they did the wrong movements and things. Whether they actually did that intentionally or no, who knows, but also does not matter. The fact that they used the flag of environmental issues and did the stupidest things, whether it was with good or actual ill intention, who knows, and it's the least part that matters. The matters is what they represented. Now, those who are against and don't care and don't want to bother with what actually matters because all they care about is fattening their pocket will use that as their flag. And that's the circle of self destruction in social matters in civilization. And that's why you notice that certain celebrities that are held, for example, at front have certain reputation, while they quote unquote are always flagged as, oh my God, she's a vegan, she's pro planet, she this, or he that. And then you go and see it's like, oh, they also do these, and that. It's like very contradictive. But hey, their image is that's what a pro planet person is. And meanwhile, the business, destructive, magnate, male, female, they do all kinds of effed up stuff. And that's cover up the image that's put out there. They created this. Even if it's half as a truth, doesn't matter. That's what's put out there. And so that's what you get. And no, society cannot claim, but I'm ignorant. Anything you held, you should bother, especially in a time when you see everything is not good for you. What are you going to do? Just bed down and die and continue in that? You continue in the cycle. If you don't stop and reevaluate your choices and are uncomfortable with acknowledging when you find out something that is unpleasant, you get what you've held. There's a difference between being forced, being denied, being subjugated, and there's a difference with blindly accepting. And all those points matter. And one does not take from the other. And anyone who will use my words against to continue crimes and say they want it, they've accepted, by twisting, for example, recreating, reforming the way they present things and that, is also an ignorant, you know what. But at the end of the day, what's the difference from anything else they always do or have done? It's the same crap. Because apparently, subjugation, ignorance, and delusion are success these days. And so, what's business, what's politics? A reflection of what people keep within themselves. Why do you get what you get? Because you're in denial. You want to talk about party, but you don't want to talk about what members of said party have done. And when people are pinning you left, up, down, and right on race, political, gender, personal views, spiritual, etc., giving you money so you go hurt others, and you're not questioning it. Listen, I don't care. Someone came and told me $1 billion. This guy is a horrible person. All you have to do is follow them around, copy their stuff, some shit like that. I'm going to ask the follow up question: how does that help? Oh, you'll see. No, I want to see it. And at the end of the day, explain and show me the evidence. And I want more. Why can you not address this person directly in person? Oh, we have. Show me the evidence. And I'm saying that for all the people that seem to get paid to stalk and harass me. I don't care what your claims are. You have to be vile because I can think. And I've thought, what would I be like if I was in your shoes and someone approached me with money, fame, whatever? Whatever claims. Exactly. You have to be vile. So at the end of the day, when people are asking you to lie, deceive, cover, hide, And or you are choosing to be that. You are contributing to the wrongs of society. Nothing else you do or say matters because your mindset, your focus is already on something destructive. If you cannot separate business from politics, that's a problem. Because business, for example, is wrongly focused just as much as politics, but also both things do not belong. And again, why do I say it so many times? Because there's several people right now whose platform is, I'm a business magnate. I know what the world needs. No, you don't. You only know what you want. And that's why you're there.